Howdy ho, everyone. Here we are, live and free. This is Learn to Trade, live and free for the Actions to Wealth team. And gee whiz, I hope I just didn't cut myself off then. It would not be a good thing. Welcome to you if you're watching and listening, wherever you are in God's green earth. It's good to have you on board. This is Jeff coming to you live from Tasmania, Australia, and I'm going to be joined very, very shortly by Ash, who comes to us live from Brighton in the UK, where I'm sure it would be, cool? Probably be cool, I'd reckon. He'll give us an update on the weather, I'm sure, when he joins us. Just want to check a couple of things. First up, if I actually did disconnect from YouTube, so I've just got to what have I got to do to fix that? Let me see. Press that button. Sorry guys, you guys hopefully can see and hear what I'm doing. If so, chat box is always there to say hi. There is echo for repeated voice. Okay, thank you for that, Joyce. I'll see if I can fix that. Is that still the case, by the way? Hopefully that has fixed itself. I can't hear anything, to be fair, which is why I'm a little bit confused. I can see that there is audio going out, still more than one voice. Okay. Let me see if I can fix that for you. That might be there. Let me know if that improves, please, Joyce. Unfortunately, I can't hear a dash thing, which is a technical foible that really annoys me. Repeated same voice. Wow. Okay. I'm trying to fix it. Okay, there's a lot going on underneath the water here. I'm like a duck on the pond trying to fix it. That shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Is anybody getting the same echo as Joyce? It'd be very nice to hear that that's not the case anymore. Sadly, I can't hear a dash thing. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of weird. Still hearing two voices there, Joyce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Still not yet resolved. Okay. How about anyone else in the room? Is it just Joyce or is it other people as well? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's okay. Okay. Joyce, you might have an issue. Time lagging in voice. Okay, everyone else seems to be okay, Joyce. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe you've got two YouTubes open at the same time. Maybe that's the case. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, if there is an issue, guys, please let me know and I will continue to troubleshoot. All right, it's now 7 o'clock. We're going to go to the pound US dollar breakout trade, which is just performing like a ridiculous thing. It's going really, really poorly, which is why you test things, guys, of course, rather than jump straight in. Today's trade, and I repeat, this is in beta mode, folks. So, you know, you really shouldn't be trading this. It is a beta trade at the moment. I'm trading it, but because I want to have real results. But it's something that we're beta testing at the moment to get the right formula, or to ditch it to see if it is no good. Then we'll just simply ditch it. Simple as that. Righto, the entry levels today, we go short at 1.3013. So I'll put that in. New order 1.3013. Again, guys, you need to be very much aware that this is a beta test. Sell stop 1.3013. And the stop loss will be 15 pips above that candle there, which is 1.3056. 3056. Okay, so that is the order. We won't take any profits. We won't program any take profits. We'll simply place that in the market. So, you know, once again, this is a blind test. And what I mean by a blind test is we have not used any filtering in terms of analysis to do this. It's simply a matter of we're trading a candle and we're trading the break of that candle, right? Both high and low. Haven't set a high yet, but I will do that in a sec if we're not triggered into this trade. So if I was to filter this for my own, exactly as I would have done yesterday, there's no way I would put my stop loss there, for instance. I'd put my stop loss well above the daily and weekly pivot, which are magnetic to price action. You know, you've got to expect that at some stage price will go, if not to that level, then towards that level, because it is magnetic. I wouldn't really say we're oversold to a large degree, but getting towards that point, there's probably a trend line down here that's attractive as well. But which happens first is the question. So if we go down to here and then come back, I would expect that price would go to this level. So with common sense, I would definitely be putting my stops up here somewhere. But that's not what we're doing. We're trialing this blind, as I said, and it is simply trading the candle. There's an option to trade this, and that is to trade the range of the last three candles. What we're doing is trading the range of the last candle before London Open, and that is as we've done it. So 15 pips above the high, rounded up, and 10 pips below the low. So we have an entry short 10 pips below the low with our stop loss 15 pips above the high. And we have exactly the reverse. So for the long, we have an entry here, and we have the stop loss exactly where the entry for the short is. Okay, that may well have been triggered. What was the entry? It was 1.3013, and I think we've been through that. Yes, we have. So we are in that trade. And as I said, stop loss is in completely the wrong place. But we're doing this so we can actually trial this and make it the right way to trade that breakout of the first London candle. So there's our trade for today. Now we're in the trade. We've now got a trail on a 15-minute chart, and we trail 2 bars, so 2 seller bars. So now we're in the trade. If this remains a seller bar, we would move our stop down to here straight away. So that's 2 seller bars. And if that continues on, we would simply, once we've got 2 seller bars, pardon me, in succession. So if we got a buyer bar here, we couldn't move the stop loss. But if we got another seller bar here, we would, after this candle, we would move our stop to here, and so on and so forth. So that's exactly how we do it. Okay, Joyce, I'm happy that everything is resolved for you and that you can now hear me. I haven't heard from Ash. I'm not sure exactly where he is at the moment. I hope everything's well with him. Hasn't been in contact with me at all, so we'll wait and see if he can come on board. Maybe he's having issues getting into the room. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's move on from the pound breakout trade and talk about things that that we might be looking at, or trades that we're currently, or trades that I'm in. At the moment, I'm in actually only one trade left at the moment. That's dollar yen short. Actually traded this on a weekly chart. and it's pretty much trading exactly the same thing as we traded the week before, or was it last week? I think it was last week, or was it the week before? Let me see. Okay, so we traded this bar the week before, and we were looking to trade this short. So it was the week before last, and that would have been the first bar of the week, which broke the range. And that's the whole idea of this trade. The whole idea of this trade is to trade a false break. And the reasoning being that, pardon me, if this breakout is false, then it will be false here. I believe that if we come back into this range, as we have done, then the bulls are in trouble at this point here. So that's where I want to enter the market. We didn't get triggered in that week, and we had to wait for, pardon me, the next week to set up as it did in exactly the same bar, as you can see. Broke. In fact, this one was better because it broke not only the range, but it tested the high of our ascending channel, and that was a good enough reason for me to say, okay, let's enter here. I haven't taken any profit on this yet, and I'm really waiting to hit the bottom of this range and the confluence area of the bottom of the ascending channel as well. I think that's the first take profit area for me, and I'll just leave my stops where they are for now and wait until that, if it occurs, of course. There's no certainty of anything. And the level for that is, the confluence happens at approximately 108.40. 108.40 is where I will look to take the first profit, which to me is a fairly obvious place so to do. Then I would think my next take profit level, which you can see on the chart here, is at 107.21. So another 120 pips away. At the moment, we are only 50 pips to the good, or just a little under 50 pips to the good, having been about 75 pips to the good. I'm quite hopeful that we can get to the bottom of this range, and as I said, that's where I'll take my first profit and make myself safe in the market. Rightio ho, what else have we got happening? Now out of Euro Kiwi. Euro Kiwi, I think, has been the sufferer of this this virus that has threatened the markets dreadfully. There's been a whole lot going on, and we went short twice on Euro Kiwi. First one failed, and the second one we got profit out of that one, which is fine, but we're now back out of that. And what do I expect to happen next? Well, a lot depends, of course, as does most things at the moment, on this coronavirus situation. If that were to get out of control, the markets are going to react even more than we have seen at this point. In fact, we've probably had a bit of a mooted reaction at this point, and that can amplify very, very rapidly if things get out of control with this virus. And of course, things in China are not looking great at the moment, with upwards of 100 deaths, I think it is at this point. Around the world, look, who knows really what the true facts are. In Australia, I think it's, safe control mode, where the media is echoing the voice of the health organisations, which are trying to keep a cap on this. Whether it needs to be kept a cap on or not, is neither here nor there, and I'm certainly not qualified to comment on that, nor am I qualified to say exactly what would happen if this does get out of control, except to say that the world's markets will probably see a further flight to the safe havens, gold, Swissy, traditionally yen, but there's been a little bit of a decoupling of the yen with safe havens of late. But I do notice that we do have a strong yen at the moment, so that is potentially where we are headed. We shall see, and of course that's to even potentially ignore things like impeachments of presidents and trade wars which continue, Iran situation, which is largely unresolved. So, you know, there's a whole lot going on, and uncertainty in the markets, of course, is caused by fear, and there may well be a little bit of fear yet to come. So things like gold, you would think would rally. Where's the gold chart? Let's have a look at the latest one of that. That's a 30-minute chart, and it's kind of hanging in there, isn't it? It came off the big high a couple of weeks ago with a massive statement there, and we've crept back to the previous high, and now just settled in there. And I think the world's kind of waiting to see what happens next with this scenario with the coronavirus. Yeah, look, it's another, pardon the flippancy of this next statement, it's kind of rather a distraction. And, you know, if you're affected by this virus, it's far more than that, of course. But as far as the markets are concerned, it's another spoke in the wheel, and makes it a little bit difficult to, well, I guess, have a complete bias other than safe havens seem to be the flavour of the month, not least of which is, I guess, the king safe haven, apart from gold, used to be the US dollar. And I guess you've got to be a US bull at present. And if I go to the Aussie US dollar chart, this is one that I'm watching very, very keenly. I've been massive bear the Aussie for a few weeks now. And it has shown very, very much a tendency to go short. And hopefully, if you've been following our bias in this show and other shows that we do, then you would be on board this Aussie short. Now, we're at a crucial point at the moment at around about the 67.5 mark. You can see that the previous low here, I don't want my device to restart. I just got that notice. I don't know if you guys saw that. We are at the previous low here. And to some degree, that head and shoulders that you can see here, I'll just make that clear to those who are relatively new to trading. Let me just point out, this is primarily one of the reasons of the short bias that certainly I've had. And since we broke this neckline here, this being the neckline, this being the shoulder, this being the neck, this being the neck, this being the shoulder, this being the head, since we broke that and retested it, there was, well, if there's ever little doubt, I suppose this was it. There was little doubt in my mind that we would retest these lows down here. So I think we've got a fair way to go here on the Aussie, another 100 pips, I would have imagined. But we are at a level here where I do expect a little bit of an easing in the selling. It may not happen, but technically you would be expecting price, in my humble opinion, to have a little bit of a rest here. And that could be well instigated by people taking profit on in particular this last move, which gapped over the weekend and has just continued on its merry way to the south side. So I'm looking for some sort of bounce here, at the very least consolidation. So maybe in here somewhere, but I do see a level here around about the 68 mark, a little bit above 68, 68.10, where we've had a former resistance area and support area. And we've also have this, what I call trade lines, not a trend line as such, but it's a trade line. Why a trade line? Because it's a line off which I want to trade. And here is where I want to trade from. As I say, around about the 68.10 mark as I've got it. There will be, in my humble opinion, without too much doubt, that once price hits this level today, which from memory is 67.76, I'll just check that when I get rid of my pen. So if price comes up to here, as one would expect, why? Because that's where the daily pivot sits, and the daily pivot has a very high tendency of being tested. So I would expect that to be the case, given that we've had such a dramatic and substantial sell-off. I would definitely be expecting a pullback to this area, if not to this area. And that's my key. That's where I want to short this again. I'm not that keen to short it here because I can see a deeper retracement with this level in mind and the confluence of this trade line and the horizontal level. So that's where I would like to see the Aussie before I got short again. The question, of course, as an intraday trader is, do I have any interest in trading that retracement? The answer is always have an interest in trading retracements. But at this point in time, you've got to have a reason so to do, rather than just, okay, we've reached the previous low. We've probably completed the sequence of, pardon me, of the head and shoulders. Why do I say that? Well, because that's the symmetry. This is symmetrical down here. So what we saw on this side, we've seen exactly repeated on the other side. Game over, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's the end of that particular sequence or cycle, if you want to call it that. And by all means, call it that. I've got no reason why you wouldn't call it that. So again, that gives me another reason to think that price can come back, if not to here, or if not only to here, then to here. So yeah, I can absolutely see a reason to be wanting to trade that. Of course, when you're looking to trade counter trend, you've got to have a reason to do it other than that potential bias, as I've just said. So what I'm looking for here is, let me bring my mouse back. What I'm looking for here is, on any smaller time frame, really, a reason to go long. Now, that reason is going to have to be substantial because we are trending short right now, quite clearly trending short. So what I'm looking for is something that tells me there are buyers here in sufficient number or with sufficient bank accounts to drive this back to a level. Now, I don't have a whole lot of room here. I've got, what, 67.50 odd to 68.10, if that's the way I want to go. But I've got a very big hurdle here, as we've just discussed. So I need to find something that gets me into the market and then safe in the market before I hit that level there. It's going to be tricky because I've only got, that's a 4-hour chart I'm looking at, mind you. I've only got about 20 odd pips to play with if I were to enter at this level. But I don't see any reason to enter at this level because really what I want to see is some form of reversal pattern. Okay, we've got a potential here in the shape of a bullish engulfing bar. I'll go with that. That's fine. But that's only part one of the equation. I need a reason to think that that is serious, not just somebody taking a little bit of profit off the table here. So what I look for here now is a higher low. So if I go a little bit tighter, I'll be looking for this to happen. Where's my little pen? I'll be looking for price to maybe come up to here and retest these highs, then fail to retest the lows. So we're already retesting the lows. But what I want to see is price come up to here, then fail to retest the lows. That means to me that the bears are having a little bit of a rest. They don't want to drive this any further at that point. And if I see that happen, then I've got reason to trade it because it's the second part of the equation. Here's part one with the bullish engulfing bar. Part two is the higher low. And if I see that, I've got reason to go long, take profit before I hit that level and target this area up here, as I said. So a little bit has to happen on Aussie US dollar, but I am keen to investigate that potential if it does occur. Now, it can happen on any chart. Again, as an intraday trader, I'm more than happy to look at the 4 hour. Then I'll have a look at the 30-minute chart. 30-minute chart will obviously be the first opportunity I get to see that. But I need to see the same thing on the 30-minute chart as I am seeing on the 4 hour chart, and that is a potential reversal. Don't see that right now. Had a little bit of a double bottom sitting here, or a tweezer bottom if you like, but we've since had a lower low. There's a little bit of a hint of a double bottom here. I'll probably take that on board. And now we've had this rally back to the high, going back to the previous charts, exactly what I want to see on the 4 hour chart. Now potentially we will get that higher low. So that's what I'm looking for. If we do get that higher low, it really does put me on notice that this can go. I may want to see a little bit more than that on the 30-minute chart. So I generally like to, on the 30-minute chart, play, pardon me, what I call trade lines, as I said. And I'll be probably looking at that one or that one through here to give me the go ahead. So if I see what I like to see here, maybe a break and retest of that, then I will look to trade it long. So that's probably Aussie dollar wrapped up in a nutshell for me. If it doesn't happen on the 30, then I'll go back to the 4 hour. If it doesn't happen on the 4 hour, then I'll have a look at it tomorrow morning on the daily chart. But that's kind of where I'm at on Aussie dollar. Yes, I'm still a bear, but I can definitely, I want to be a bear up here. I don't want to be a bear here. I don't want to jump into the market at these lows. I think that would be a very high risk attitude to take. So, look, this is pretty much a recurring theme, and I'm really only interested in things against the dollar at the moment. I'm not really interested in the crosses apart from the yen crosses, and I'll get to those in a tick. But I'll go to the euro, and like I said, it's very much a similar theme. You can see this same pattern repeating itself. So we've had a false break of the range, very, very similar to what I described on dollar yen. But also we've got a left shoulder here ahead and a right shoulder. Then, of course, we got exactly what we're after. Again, let me use. So if that's a shoulder and that's a shoulder, that's a neckline, that's a neckline. Let's join that up. Let's do that properly, shall we? Let's do that properly. If it's worth doing well. Isn't that right? Is that what my mother always said? Why can't I find what I want? There's what I want. So if we've got a neckline here, which we do, we like to see a break and a retest of that before we get into the market. This was awesome, apart from one thing. So we got partial break. It wasn't great. And then we got partial retest. It wasn't great. Then we got this crazy candle, which was pretty cool. If you're a fan of trading lower highs after a reversal pattern, then that's probably where you want to get into the market right there. So that has played out, and we are now in search of the bottom of this range as I see it. We also have another little trade line, if you like, coming through here. And price is pretty much bang on that. There's a confluence area. We've got the daily pivot there as well. Similar to what I've just described on Aussie US dollar, I think I know I don't want to go short here right now. I'd love to see price bounce back up to the weekly pivot, and then look for the short here. Similar, if I saw a bar, like this one here again. Look at the recurring theme here, guys. Monthly pivot, test, reject, short under there, retest weekly pivot, same bar, short under there. So if I got it again, would I be doing it? Hell yeah. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for. Reversal bar, off the pivot, off the pivot, And if we get that opportunity again, then I think that's probably the way to go. So same story. I don't want to go short here now. In terms of a horizontal level, I don't really think we've got that to be, or we do have it, but I don't think it's that much of a concern. Yeah, actually, it has got a bit of form, hasn't it? So there's that level there. So you're trading straight into that if you went short here right now. But if you waited till you got up to here and got a nice bar here, you've probably got some room to take profit before that level actually arrives. It might be a little bit lower. It might be here, but it's there. So I'm very much aware of that. So I do want to see a retracement, maybe even back to here and then come back. That's what we'd be looking for, definitely, on Euro US dollar. So like I said, everything against the dollar at the moment, well, sorry, the majors against the dollar at the moment are very, very similar. And for that reason, we're looking for exactly the same thing, I guess. So it's take your pick time. Which one do you want to trade? Pound looks extremely bearish at the moment. That's the daily chart. What's the hourly chart look like? We've got to be trailing this, haven't we? We've only had one 15-minute bar though, so there's no trail yet. In 1 minute's time, 2 minutes time, there will be. So we'll be trailing our stop down to here in just a tick. With this, of course, unless this reverses, but that's where we'll be moving our stop to, above this bar here, because we've now got two bars that are in sequence and going short. So I'll come back to that in just a tick. But as far as the pound in terms of analysis is concerned, I'm not that keen. There's a strong support level that we're approaching, exactly the same support level that we were calling this long off last week, where we had a rejection of this trend line, but not only the trend line, there was a very, very strong horizontal level through here as well. It's exactly where price is now, or very, very close to where price is now. So you can see the level coming through here. It's very, very strong. It's been resistance, 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 broken resistance, come back, support, support. Here we go again for the third, fourth on this trend line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the sixth attempt to break through that trend line, and probably the most recent third attempt to break through it from the high side. Not only that, it may present as a bounce off the back side of this trend line. So there's a lot going on here. It's a very, very big ask for mine for pound US dollar to break through this level. That's something that will be very, very difficult to achieve, in my humble opinion. That said, should it break that level, look out. If there's a close below here, this is the daily chart I'm looking at. But even if I go back to the 4-hour chart and have a look at that level, if this were to break here and then perhaps a retest, holy mackerel, this level's got to go probably. So the level I'm talking about is probably around there somewhere. So 129.60-ish. If we get a close in that area, or even below that area today, or on a 4-hour chart or something like that, look out, because this could go a heck of a long way. Down to, in the first instance, one would expect there-ish. So 127. So we're 300 odd pips to there. Another 200 to there maybe, and perish the thought, but down to there, we're talking about 1,000 pips basically. So that's that's the kind of thing can happen. Do I expect that to happen today? Shivers no. Definitely not. But if this gets a run on, then it could go anywhere. There's no two ways about that. We shall see how it pans out. All right, we've got to trail that stop, haven't we? So let's go back to here. Our stop now comes down to there. This is not on drag. Oh, let me get it a level. The level is 130.26. So we'll move that to 130.26. So we've just improved our lot by 30 pips. 130.26 and modify. Okay, so stops down to here now. And with any luck, when we get a retracement, which we surely will, we'll come back to here somewhere and go again. That would be the optimum. Of course, if this continues to shoot through, then happy days, we'll wear that. That would be all good. About time we got something happening on this breakout, because it's been horrible the last 2 weeks, absolutely horrible. Anyway, let me get back to, well, I've kind of finished with pound US dollar, I suppose. It's very much in the wait and see category here, but I do expect that there will be at least a hesitation here, if not a bounce of some kind. Hopefully not through our stop loss. We shall see. Look, I'll go through the same pair, the same primary currencies on against the yen, because this is very interesting as well. You can see exactly where price is at the moment at the 120 mark on euro yen. This is on a daily chart I'm looking at, of course. And from there, we can see that we, once again, and I'll get rid of these lines because they have no relevance on this chart. You can see there that clearly we've broken through, and we were calling for this for the last few weeks as well. We're calling for this to break through the bottom of here, and there were some nice hints that this was about to happen with the break back underneath this trend line, the retest of that entry there. No real entry there, or since basically, but that was the key, that one there. Broken through now, no retest, gap over the weekend, and very, very difficult now to say go short, because price is overextended and it needs to come back. Again, when that happens, I ask myself, is it possible to trade it back? At the moment, we're seeing consolidation here. If I like to trade it back, I like to trade it back fairly quickly. This consolidation to me is likely, not certainly and absolutely not certainly, but it's likely to be simply a pause. So consolidation after a big sell-off often means that that sell-off will continue. If I look at this on a bigger picture type scenario, that's the level that we're currently testing, right? So if that level goes, then wow, again, similar to what I've just described on the pound, we're suddenly talking 116s. So, another 400 odd pips to be had here if we can get through this level. How do we trade that? Well, I can't, as I said, at the moment, but what I can do is look for the retracement. Don't need to trade the retracement, but look for where the retracement would get me interested in re-entering the market. So confluence areas are the best. So I'd look at the next available strong resistance area, which is probably there, but it might be there. So there's a little bit of a cloud hanging over that one. Let's call it there. So that's minimum retracement to there, and best retracement to there, in my humble opinion. So I'll be looking at either of those two levels. So how I handle that is when price gets to this level, 120.35, I then look on the smaller time frames for a potential entry. That potential entry will come as a trade line confluence with something else, horizontal level with something else, a pivot, something of that nature. So until I get to those potential two levels, I won't be doing anything here. little bit of a base forming on the hourly chart. There's no question about that. And a higher low here maybe is interesting with a potential trade back to the weekly pivot. But yeah, euro's bearish, yen strong. It's tough to be thinking long here. It'd want to be an absolute gold setup before I would take it. Aussie yen's exactly the same. I can't see any point in continuing to repeat myself, to be fair. So Aussie yen is exactly the same scenario and very, very tough to trade at the moment. It's impossible to go short. Pound yen is a little better. Why is it a little better? Well, because we have had a breakout of the range already today on the 4-hour chart, and that's strong. So I think a retest of that breakout, let me just investigate that a little bit further. So that level that we've broken is here. Let me see if that's got any form. Yeah, it's shoulderish, isn't it? If you call that an inverted head and shoulders, but it's absolutely midway between my range. Somewhere I don't like to trade too much, but I also see the opportunity here. So if price were to come back and retest that, not with this bar, but it could do so on an hourly or a 30-minute chart. If it were to do that and give me a nice confluence, this is what I'm always looking for. So I've got a trade line coming through here. Now I've got a confluence area. So if we were to come to here, and this is going to take a few hours, of course, but you know, it doesn't hurt to be patient. If we were to come back to here, and here's the absolute P, best case scenario that I would look for, price back to here, break the trade line, get back underneath it after a couple of candles, and then retest the confluence area. Yippee. If I were to see that, then I'm short, but I'm short here. That's the place for me to go short. Would have to take profit before the low here in case it just produces a double bottom and continues to go. But that's most definitely what I'd be looking for. So price back above here, then comes back underneath, retests the level, shoot, gone short. I don't know if I've got anything more, guys. I didn't really want to get into the miners. Aussie Kiwi I was looking at last week. Kind of lost interest. Pound Kiwi. I was looking at Pound Kiwi, and here's the reason. So Pound Kiwi, I won't say a race to the bottom, but it could well be. I see potential in both to go short. There's no question about that. And going back to the theme of the day, it's continued US dollar strength, right? That's for me anyway. But I do see an upper limit here, which hasn't yet been tested, not for a long time actually. We've come back and back and back, but we haven't tested this level for ages, having spent quite a deal of time testing the lower limit of that ascending channel. So I've kind of got time for pound to go to here against the Kiwi, which is around about the $2 mark. And I think that'd be a great place to short, to be fair. So that's exactly what I'll be looking for here. Is this tradable is my question. And look, it's not that dusty. It's got one issue, and that is the daily pivot hasn't been tested for a couple of days. Certainly yesterday it wasn't tested. So I'd be looking for that to happen first. And if I go to the smaller time frames, I don't see that as an impossibility at all. Wow, crazy bar there. Doji, big doji. There's definitely a hint of a potential reversal here. So a lower high is going to get the market interested, I would have thought. And definitely a daily pivot will be on the cards. Maybe even a monthly pivot will be on the cards. That's not what I want to see. I want to see a daily pivot test, yes, and then a potential for a long. Wow, that ain't going to be easy because I don't have a confluence here. I don't have trade lines to assist me. Certainly not on the hourly chart. The 30-minute chart might be a little bit different because we do have a trade line. Why? Because we've got a low here and a low here. So I can actually join those. So that makes a difference. Why? Because I can now play a false break of this trade line. How would I do that? Well, I've just described exactly that on the drawing I did on Euro Yen, I think. It was one of those crosses. I can't remember which one now. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Let's go back to here. Pound Kiwi, where is it? There. So here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for price to test the daily pivot, right? That's one of my criteria. So if it tested the daily pivot, gave me a couple of consolidation bars, just to say, okay, the market's having a little bit of a think. Then we drew back above here, retested it from above. That to me looks then like a false break and a potential bounce off the daily pivot. That's exactly what I'd be looking for. If I were to see that, happy days, I'd be looking to trade along there and take on the highs, taking profit, of course, before the highs, just to make sure I'm safe in the market in case we do put in a big head and shoulder sitting here, which is quite, it's quite on the cards. This is by no means a fait accompli, but when I do see a level that is yet to be tested, and I see that very clearly on this cross, again, at the top of this range, let me go, the 4-hour chart's a lot clearer. That's pretty clear to me, and that's where I'd like to see price, and that's where I'd be happy to trade it to, but I'd have to see it do exactly as I've just described. Test the daily pivot, back above the trade line, retest it, then go. Targeting here. Profit before here. Okay. We've got a couple of minutes before this candle closes. I am going to not do anything if that's a bull bar. I'll just wait and see how that closes, and if it does close as a bull bar or a white candle, if you like, I won't do a thing. But if it is, if it changes polarity and becomes a bear bar or a black candle, then I will move my stop a little bit further. What I'm hopeful of is this retracement is enough for now, and we do take on those lower levels and break clear. That would be handy, but gee whiz, it's a big ask here. That's a massive trend line and confluence area to break through. But again, if it does, I think we're off to the races here, guys. Just a matter of hanging on to that trail on the 15-minute charts. All right, so let's go back there, and then I'm going to leave you for the day. Obviously, Ash couldn't make it this morning. I don't know if he slept in or what's happened, but I'm sure I'll catch up with him later and find out why he couldn't make it. He will, of course, be back with us tomorrow. All right, we've got 1 second, end of candle, and we do nothing. So our stop loss is still here at 130.26 from memory. We're looking for another couple of seller bars to trade our stops down and get into profit. Let's hope that will be the case. Guys, look, thank you for being here today. It's been wonderful to have your company. There's a few ideas that I've given you. Nothing here to trade as yet, apart from that pound trade that we took. Hopefully that will get into some money at some stage. And again, it's in beta mode, guys. It's not a trading strategy yet. We're working on it, and we'll continue to do that in the show throughout the year as we siphon through some new ideas that I've got. I think Ash has probably got 1 or 2 as well. We'll be testing those throughout the year and hopefully bring you guys some new systems to trade. That would be cool. But again, I stress this is a beta test. It is not a strategy as yet. So don't go putting some money on this because it's just not there yet. Guys, again, thank you very much for your company. We will look forward. Cheers, Daniel. We'll look forward to your company throughout the week, and have a great rest of Tuesday. Bye-bye for now.